Want to welcome everybody to Destination Health Podcast, Finding Function in a Dysfunctional World. I am Dr. Dan. I am the host of Destination Health Podcast. That's the first time I ever said that. So Terry, just to let you know, that's the first time I ever said that. And anytime in my podcast that I was the host. And so you have that dubious honor. But I want to welcome Terri Rozyla to our program. And we're going to have a great conversation today. Terri, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, it's a nice sunny day here in New Jersey. It's 80 degrees out. I did a little workout this morning. I'm going to go for a little run, later on when the day is winding down, and then I have to lecture tonight. So, just one of those busy days. So Terri, okay. Terri is the manager of Fleet Feet sneaker store in Westfield, New Jersey. As everybody knows, I have an office in Westfield. She's lead educator at the Lavendula wellness retreats. She's a meditation and yoga therapist. She's a non-physician health practitioner and a holistic health coach. And we met not too long ago, and I asked Terri to come on because we're going to be doing a workshop on May 7th from 3 to 5. We'll get into that later in the podcast. But I invited Terri on because she's got an interesting story, and she does a lot of interesting things, and I wanted to make sure we highlight Terri in the Westfield community. So Terri, welcome. How are you today?
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, no, I'm doing really, really great. And like you mentioned, I am definitely the manager over at Fleet Feet, right on Quimby Street. We are a community-based retailer. We have over 250 locally owned and operated stores across the country. And, we truly believe in doing the run thing. You mentioned you're doing your run later. I hope you're going to come down by the store and, run past and grab a couple of us. We'll definitely hop in.
Well, I'm in Monmouth County today, so I don't know if I'm going to go to Monmouth County to Union County. I don't know if my knees can handle that. These days, Terri.
That's a little far.
These days, Terri, if I'm out in the run, it's a 3 to 4 mile run. And I'm icing my knees a little bit. As you said, maybe I need a new pair of sneakers. So I think next week we're going to have to discuss a new pair of sneakers and stuff. I'll bring them in and we'll go from there. So running. When did you start running? Why did you start running? What's this whole running obsession? I'm a child. I was born in the 60s. The running boom was in the 70s. The Boston Marathon, Bill Rogers, Tom Fleming, who I knew personally. Okay. And so forth and so on. And listen, I played other sports. We were running back then. What was that? What was that thing that got you into running?
So I just one day, honestly, I wanted to run. It sounds really crazy, but it's the ultimate truth. I hopped on a treadmill and I'm like, this is really kind of cool. And I decided that I wanted to do a half marathon. So I skipped right over the 5K and I just went straight for the half marathon.
So you said no 5K, no 10K.
I just went straight for it.
No turkey trot on Thanksgiving morning for a mile and a half, right? Before you ate all the turkey. No, you went right for the half marathon.
I went straight for the half marathon. And I was bitten by the half marathon bug since. I've been running for over a decade. Running is in my blood. It's definitely a part of my life. It's not just a physical exercise for me. It is definitely something that it encourages a healthier mindset. It encourages a healthier lifestyle. It creates community. It creates fun. It's, you've got training programs and you've got, charities involved. There's so much involved in the running community that it's something, it's in my blood.
So it's something that you love to do. And you know what? I remember back in the day running, you always hear of that runner's high. I remember once or twice, it wasn't all the time. There was this one time I was running and it just hit it. The endorphins and the enkephalins started running in. But you mentioned something. It's not only physical, it's a mindset. What does that look like for you, a healthy mindset when you're running?
Good question, Dan. I like that one.
Let me tell you something, Terri. I said to you before we got on, I'm taking notes and I'm going to ask questions. Be careful where you go with this because we ask, because even if you don't, I know what you're going to say and I'm going to ask anyway.
I'm sure. So it's a healthy mindset. It is, because you know why? It allows my space of creativity. It allows for also a space of decompression. Whether I have a stressful day, you know, from work, from life, from personal avenues, overall that holistic model, whatever it may be, I go out for a run, I can decompress. And it's a moving meditation for me. And it's me getting reflective with myself. It's me getting reflective with maybe projects that I've been trying to, you know, move, you know, the needle forward on, and even just different, just overall feeling good. Like I always I can get to mile 2 and I get that little space, but if I can get to mile 3 and forward, I just physically feel different and better, which then ultimately creates that space of courageousness and confidence and a higher energy, which means I show up filled up all the time, not all the time, but most of the time. It's a greater way of living, I believe.
Yeah, I like it. I will tell you, when I first started running in the 70s, there was a study that came out, you know, and I'm that science geeky type of a guy. And it did indicate that if you are running, you can solve problems of your day, of your life, small problems. You're not going to figure out, and I found this interesting, you're not going to figure out that you're going to buy a new house and this is what you need to do. You know, simple problems that you can do to clear your mind, and you have a better view, and you can make better decisions in your life. So what is that healthy? Right? Do you find that when you're running?
I do. And to kind of go a little bit into the metaphysical world just a bit, I mean, from a chakra perspective, you're opening up your chakra, your energy centers. So as you're running, you're also in alignment with the space of receiving. So when you're in that space of receiving, you're releasing what doesn't serve you, and then you're receiving what does.
Awesome.
So
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what running allows too. That's part of the mindset of it.
Yeah, I love that. So I have to ask this question. Okay, you're like, oh my goodness, where are you going with this one?
Where are you going with this one,
Where
Dan?
are you going with this one, Dan? But what is your best time? Okay, it's a simple question. What's your best time in the half marathon?
2:04.
Not bad. Are you going to run a marathon?
I've done a couple already.
Okay,
and I'll be running New York at the end of this year too.
Oh, you're going to be running New York, and tell me, what's your best time in the 26.2?
I don't know, actually, because when I ran the Goofy Challenge, which was a half marathon and a full marathon. So that was a 40 miler. Yeah. So I did that over the course of a weekend, and I broke my foot. So that was a little slow.
Right.
When I did New York the first time, I believe I ran it. I think I ran it the first time at like a 5 hour, because it was freezing cold, absolutely frigid. Not bad. I walked a lot.
Yeah, not bad. That's actually pretty good.
Not bad, but I was in line. I will say, I was in line. I do remember now. I crossed that half at 2:09. So I was going to do the full in like a 4:18 or like a 4:20 something.
Right.
And then I lost it.
You just totally lost it.
Yeah. And that was from a physical, with something that came on with my hip. So I can tell you that that's where the mindset part of it is too, is that it's that
correct
combating part of it. And I can say, even from the most recent half that I did, which was Atlantic City, I had gotten to mile 10. It's an interesting space, actually. I got to mile 10. I was coming in. I was actually in alignment to do like a 2:06. And I got to mile 10 and I stopped. I dead stopped in the middle of the boardwalk. And I'm standing there and I'm like, in my head, Terri, let's go. And then the other side of me is like, no, you're good. I'm like, no, Terri, let's go. And it's a total tennis match of mindset. Yes. And it's that space of time and place. And even at the New York City Marathon, where you have to be able to get into that space of self and say, you've got it. You've got to keep going. You've got to motivate yourself. You've got to encourage yourself, and you've got to believe in yourself that you've got more left.
I love that.
That's how you go.
I love that. So as you're talking, I got a million questions that are just rolling around in my head. So I'm going to go with the first. Before I say that, before I even ask a question, my first marathon was Jersey Shore Marathon. It was called that back in the day. It was in December. It was cold.
That's cold.
And I said, never again. So Billy and Jerry that are listening in right now, we did that. And, we didn't do a marathon after that for quite a while because we were like, are you kidding me? I mean, I want it to be 60 degrees, maybe a little light rain. And anyway, the mindset and the tennis match that's going on in your head, because we all hit that brick wall. And no matter what athlete you are, you could be a football player, it could be the fourth quarter, there's 3 minutes left, you're down, you're tired. You could be a basketball player, it could be a baseball player, a hockey player. My son plays hockey. It could be a marathon runner. What do you do specifically? What do you tell yourself? What is that process that you go through? Do you hear the theme of Rocky going on? And that just, that just goes. Listen, in my generation, that was a powerful tool. My son laughs at me if I'm working out with weights. And in the thread, there's the Rocky theme somewhere along the line. If that comes on, it's just automatic for me. It's a Pavlovian reaction because that's just what we were brought up on. What do you tell yourself? What's that process, the specific process that you go through?
So I will say I do a lot of meditation. Mm-hmm. And even in my running, I practice meditative breathing. I'm truly cognizant of that. So when I first feel any element of disconnect in terms of that mind-body connection, mm-hmm. I will close my eyes and I'll take a deep cleansing breath in and out. Mm-hmm. And until I can feel the settle, like I try to take notion of where am I feeling off? Where am I feeling, whether it's a tightness, whether it's muscle, is it muscular? Is it my mind telling me it's muscular? Like what's actually happening? So I do meditative breaths when I run. And then once I can get myself into that place of quiet calm again, that's where then I'll step into that motivational speaking of self.
Mm-hmm. And what do you say to yourself specifically?
It depends upon the mile.
All right. So if it's early in the run,
mile, let's say if I'm at mile 10,
right.
I'm like, all right, you've got a 5K. You've done 1,000 5Ks. Let's go. You could totally do this. You totally got it. And it's okay. If I'm in middle of mile, if I'm trying to do like a 5 miler, 6 or 7 miler, and let's say I'm doing a 7 miler and I'm at mile 5 and I've got 2 miles to go, I will start pretending that I'm on a track. Mm-hmm. At like a high school, and each lap obviously is 25. So I'll, in my brain, calculate how many 25s do I have, and mm-hmm. I'll start counting them backwards and say, you've got, you've got 8 25s to go. You've got 4 25s to go. You've only got 2 laps to go. Let's go. Let's bring it.
Right.
And that's what I do. I come back to those laps around the track. Once I'm at that last part, it's like, let's go. It's a full out sprint. There's mm-hmm. the finish line. Mm-hmm. If I'm running in the middle of the forest, like I love to work out and be amongst, just nature specifically, mm-hmm. I will set landmarks because I had a tendency when I first started running to look down. And symbolically, it was that I didn't feel confident in myself. Right. And I realized that by looking down, I'm not tackling my world head on. I'm not mm-hmm. tackling whatever's in front of me. So I conditioned my eyesight to look ahead, so that then when I ran, it was, okay, let's get to that tree. Let's get to that dumpster. Let's get to that flag. Right. And that trained me into always then pushing myself forward into whatever I was doing. Mm-hmm. And then I also trained myself to have that level of confidence in order to present myself with eyes forward instead of eyes down.
And I think a lot of runners, I started off running down. You're just looking down, a few feet in front of you. It was never, visual in front of you. I don't know. I was running on the beach one day and it hit me. Look at the ocean. It's pretty. Mm-hmm. You'll forget about the pain and the heaving of the lungs and the alcohol that you drank the night before, and why are you out here at 6 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. Now, when you're meditating, and if you're training for a race, are you training to better your time? Do you want to win the race? What is that like for you?
It's different now for me. I can definitely say historically in my 30s, I will say that I was training for trying to improve my times, and always in competition with myself, never in competition with anybody else. I was generally running between like a 9:15 to a 9:20 pace. That was, I'll call my happy pace. I liked the 9:15 area. And so I kind of hovered there for a bit. And if I did, I was, like I said, wanted to improve my time there. Now that I've approached I'm in my 40s, some different health concerns have, presented themselves, whether, concussion from the past or dealing with some lower heart rate and cold and dizziness and what have you. Then those avenues have introduced me into a different level of acceptance where I love to run and I want to be able to endure that as long as I can. So me right now, it's about enjoying the sport of running, enjoying that community that, even for the company that I work for, that's part of what we do. We create that sense of community at Fleet Feet. And to be able to then have different style events and health events and community orchestrated involvement. So that's where my running has presently evolved into me, rather than, yes, of course, do I put time into it? Like I'm doing Brooklyn next week. I'm doing the New York City Marathon the end of the year. I have different times in mind that I would love to achieve. Yeah. But I want to cross the finish line and feel good.
Yeah. Well, at my age, just putting on the sneakers makes you feel good before you go run. You don't have to go for a run. You just feel good putting the sneakers on. You're like, okay, this is a victory today. All right. Do you have to go? Do you have to go? Nah, we're going to stay home today.
But it's celebrating the small victories. Sometimes too, I mean, let's face it, sometimes the biggest challenge is just putting on the sneaker, like you said, and allowing that space itself and saying, hey, you know what? I want to put these on and I want to go out and I want to go for a walk.
Right.
And that's the thing too. Like, do you want to walk or do you want to run? Do you want to do both? They're both fine. Right.
And I said that because for those of us, for everybody listening today, they all know that I've been running for a very long time. And it does take a little bit to get out as you get a little bit older. You get some aches and pains. You have some health conditions, as Terri just said. But our motto here, Terri, if you didn't know, is to motivate, educate, and inspire. So what we like to do is motivate, educate, and inspire. So if you put those sneakers on, right, you put those running shoes on, get out and go for a walk. And I had a bunch of telehealth this morning, and I deal with a lot of sick people. There's one individual who's overweight and diabetic, Terri. And I said, you don't have to go run the marathon today. Get your dog, go 15 minutes out and 15 minutes back, right? 3 weeks later, 12 pounds lost. He's feeling good. He's looking good. He ought to be in Hollywood type of a situation. He's like, all right, I'm working with his son too. His two sons athletically. He's like, I think I want to go out and run. I said, maybe not just yet, but let's talk about it in a month or two. Let's build up some of that stuff. So when you're training and when you're meditating, right, are you doing a lot of visualization? Like, okay, I'm running a marathon. It's not an easy feat. I've been there before. You hit some point in time, Terri, where you're like, do I want to do this? Do I want to finish? So then you got the tennis match going back and forth, and you have that internal mental fortitude. Do you visualize too when you're meditating, crossing the finish line, hitting that 20 mile, hitting the 22 mile, hitting the 15 mile? Because when you get to 15 miles or so, in my opinion, you might as well go. You just don't want to finish at that point. I mean, heck, just rock and roll at that point. So do you do a lot of visualization finishing the race? I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do a lot of visualization during training. I also do visualization. So for example, I've got the Brooklyn half next week, the 24th. And my training had gone well up until about, I would say 3 weeks ago, where I had a 9-miler and I had some chest pain and I wasn't feeling well. And a total disconnect happened in my body and a complete scare and fear, and, you know, doing the proper things that I need to do on the back side of that. But on the front side of that, I'm still running, and I wanted to get clearance to be able to do this race. So while my training may has shifted to where I originally wanted it to be, I'm doing a lot of visualization now, because I mean, every race that I've ever run, I always look at the course map and I vision it as I run it, and I see it when I run it. So that this way I know I've done it, because I've already done it in my mind. And
yeah, that's very
where
important.
that's the mental connection too. And that's why I believe truly that, you know, when they say running is mental, it is. And for me, that's how I envision the course. So I've already looked at the Brooklyn course, and I've already now have been envisioning myself doing each mile. And while I originally was going after that race for a PR, I'm now going after that race for a different level of execution, and, you know, able to complete that, you know, get to that. If I do hit a small wall, that I get to that space of, and then find that internal self to be able to continue. So yeah, envisioning is huge for me, definitely. Not just the course, but then just me actually seeing the completion side of it. Even if it's that it's me seeing my friends and I at brunch afterwards, or me seeing myself, like we always celebrate with a mimosa, celebrating with a mimosa, something of that nature, to have that mental image and seal it in the deal that's what's happening. And that's what I'm going to do.
Interesting. Now, listen, you mentioned mimosas. We used to do carb loading back in the day. So you had a little macaroni, a couple of nights beforehand, you had some beers. Maybe
no, I don't drink beer.
Yeah, well, that's what we used to do. That's how we used to carb load during the carb loading days, Terry, you know. So it was a couple of days beforehand. There was beer and wine, and there's a lot of macaroni. That's just the way that we visualize ourselves doing that. So it was all good. Now, before we go on to something else, a little bit more about running. You said running is about community. Tell me about that.
So, I mean, it's fun. It creates a space of vulnerability between humanity. Running is grueling in many different ways. As you know, you're a runner as well. And it does not matter if you run a marathon or if you run a 5K, you're a runner. It doesn't matter if you are a gazelle and running a sub-6, or if you are first time out and running a 16, you're a runner. And I've had the beautiful blessing to be able to be around a lot of different types of people within different communities, especially Westfield, where the community is such a crucial part of it, because you get to know people differently. Whereas we all live that hustle and bustle. We all have our to-do lists. We all have, you know, quick here, quick there, hi, bye, let me check in, let me catch up, let's do a coffee, let's get dinner. We all have that similar lifestyle. But when we're in that community environment within the space of running, all of that other minutia goes away. And we have the ability to connect with each other in a space of vulnerability. And that's what running does. That's what, to me, running community is. And that's why I also have been such, you know, a part of it. And it's such a part of me, because I've met some of the best people in my life all through running.
Yeah, it does. You know, it is a community, and you know, you do have a tendency, if you meet on a regular basis, there's all these running clubs and so forth. You know, you do you do have a special bond. You know, my son plays hockey, and he was resistant to running, and it hit him. He needs to run. All athletes run, no matter who you are. Athletes run. Let me say it again. Athletes run. I don't
Yep.
care if it's running 2 or 3 miles. I don't care if it's doing wind sprints, the old fashioned term, whatever it is, we run. If you're a boxer, you're running, you know,
Absolutely.
it is a connection that we all have, because at some point in time, no matter what sport you're doing, you're going to run. I don't care what it is. You're going to lace them up and you're going to go, whether it's a mile, 2 miles, 15 miles, and so forth and so on. And, you know, I find that interesting. And I know you and I have spoken about this when we first met. And I think we got to have like a running club in Westfield, you know, and I think that we need, what do you think? I think there needs to be a running club, and we have to do this, you know, a few times a week, maybe even every week on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning or something along those lines. There's some nice parks in the area. 2 miles. That's all we need to do. All right. You get people out, we get them healthy. We go to breakfast, all of us, somewhere. We could pick one week here, 1 week here. What do you think about that? I like this idea.
I think it's a fabulous idea. And it's something that's in alignment with Fleet Feet, with the store that I manage, that we definitely want to employ something like that. We want to roll that out. I'd love to actually do 2 times a week, where we do one that's midweek, whether it's a Tuesday or Wednesday. And then we have one on the weekend as well. I think I think having that group run is crucial, and having a group, you know, community would be fantastic in Westfield.
All right. Now I'm in. Don't make fun of me if I can't, you know, run so fast that day, if my knees and my hamstrings.
There's no making fun of me. Don't make fun of me if I can't even run that day, and I'm going to be walking. Okay.
So I think we should do this. And I think we should pick a breakfasty type of a place once a week that we go to, right? That we go to and get a little coffee after the run, you know, maybe have a little sandwich after the run or something like that. You have everybody come along, right? And it's a nice community. I like this idea.
Yeah, we want to meet at the store, definitely. And we have a 3-mile loop leading from the store over towards Echo Lake Park and back is a great 3-mile loop. People want to walk, they can walk. If people want to run, they can run. And it's definitely something that we can roll out. Again, I mean, whether we do it in evening, Tuesday, Wednesday, or if we also do then a Saturday morning, ideally, I would love to do both. I think it's something that would be great, especially going into the heat of the nicer season.
Oh, I've got ideas about this. So anyway, tell us more. I'll let you know off camera. You know, I have some great ideas with this. This is going to be good. You're going to notice. Not only do I ask good questions, but, you know, I have a lot of ideas. So that's what running does for me. I get ideas. So let me ask you another question. Fleet Feet. Tell me about Fleet Feet. What is it all about? Why are you there? Tell me what's going on there.
Awesome. So yeah, Fleet Feet, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, we are a community-based retailer. We are located, the store that I manage is on Quimby Street. So right on the corner of the heart of what I call the best part of Westfield. We are all about doing the run thing. And by doing the run thing, it means that we're doing the right thing by our community. We're doing the right thing. We're doing fun runs. We're doing community events. We are, you know, we've got training programs. We've got, you know, fun people just in the store. Like we laugh every single day that we're here. We find a space of sarcasm. We find a space of vulnerability. It's a space of nurturing and supporting one another, you know, and I have a colleague here that I work with, and we shared, you know, some personal stories about, you know, our each other's lives. And it creates that connection. And so that too, you know, that's what we're about. And that's what we're looking to do, which is that's empowering. So we're all about empowering people and helping people to become healthier and happier within their lives. And it's surrounded, and the common denominator and the base of that, or that foundation, is running. Yes. And the running world. And it doesn't matter, like I said, it doesn't matter what pace you're running. You could be a walker. Some days I go out and I do a run walk because that's what my body feels like. As long as you're creating that movement inside of you. Got to have movement somewhere in your life. You have to have that, in my opinion, every day. As a chiropractor, as a clinical nutritionist, it's important to do that. Exactly.
And I think what we're going to be doing is, you and I have discussed this when we're rolling it out. We're going to have a workshop. We'll discuss that in a little bit. And, we're going to be doing webinars, you and I, and we're going to be discussing running and nutrition and so forth and so on, because that's my wheelhouse in part. And I think this is going to be a great collaboration between you and I and Carmen over at the yoga studio. And it's going to be really good because I've had these ideas before and I've implemented them in towns where we have running in the morning, and then, you spend a little time, you break a little bread afterwards. Well, maybe not bread because there's a lot of gluten, but we can get a healthy breakfast somewhere, maybe even they'll have like a veggie omelet in our name or something, like the runners.
That's a great idea there, Dan.
I got them today there, Terry.
You're like firing them away there, Dan.
I'm firing them away. So I think this is important to do, and I'm also about community too. It's important to serve your community. It's important to serve humankind. And, it's important to get healthier, mentally and physically. What's going on in the world today, you need to be mentally and physically stronger than you are. I have a lot of individuals. I do a lot of summits with friends. They talk about traumas that have been going on, mental traumas, physical traumas.
Well, we've got a global trauma. I mean, we literally, COVID has been a global trauma for people.
So what we're going to do is we're going to keep Westfield and the surrounding communities healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So now, wait a second. Let's shift gears here a little bit.
Okay.
NLP. When'd you get into NLP? What is that all about? Come on, Terri. Fess up.
It's something I did during COVID. I literally needed something to do and I wanted something to do. I actually had contacted, believe it or not, so I'm certified as a yoga and meditation therapist. I also am the founder and co-host of Lavendula Wellness Retreats up at Orchard View Lavender Farm. We're anniversarying our 4th year this year, and we are also rolling out other events at the farm throughout the summer and into the fall. And what we're doing with that specifically and with NLP, how it ties all in, is I wanted to add something else to that wheelhouse that was a little bit more tapped into human behavioralism, human emotion, and that emotional intelligence. And I had contacted a former colleague of mine who was the director of HR at the company that I used to work for years ago. And he and I shared a dialogue, and he had recommended NLP. And he said, that's what you need. He says, he understood everything that's within my holistic wheelhouse and of my teachings. And that's what he had recommended. He goes, that's going to staple you down and separate you from a side. So between going after, I'll be taking my board exam at the end of the year to then be able to be board certified and start taking insurance. I will also then have NLP within I have NLP already and timeline therapy within my wheelhouse as well.
I find this fascinating. I do have a couple of friends that do NLP. One of them is pretty big name. I won't mention their name, but some of them is really big, and I speak to him personally on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, I'm speaking with him tomorrow, and he does the NLP stuff, and I don't know much about it, but he has a whole business with it and stuff like that. He invites me to his seminars and so forth and so on. So I may have to now go to one of his seminars and see what it's all about and how language and stuff like that. So, I'll let you know who he is afterwards. So, so tell me, what is the Lavendula Wellness Retreats? How'd you get into this? What is that all about? Tell us about these retreats.
So it's something that I birthed within my own space of teaching yoga originally. I had been teaching yoga pretty often prior to COVID. And then I created Lunar Lavender Yoga, which was a yoga session within the Lavender Farm. The Lavender Farm is actually called Orchard View Lavender Farm up in Fort Murray, New Jersey. And it was a place that I just literally, as soon as I stepped foot into it, I fell in love with it. It's one of my favorites. And as soon as I was there, I knew I needed to do something. Similarly, something had happened when I had gone to Crystal Springs Resort and Spa. When I stepped onto foot there, same exact thing. I got something over me and I said, I need to create an event here. And I did. And I created a retreat there as well. So I've been creating these mini retreats or mini mindful sessions for the last 4 years. As I mentioned, Lavendula Wellness Retreats has now blossomed from Lunar Lavender Yoga because it has been widely accepted and thankfully and blissfully accepted by the community that I have been forecasting it to. And it's literally a space where somebody, if they want to feel relaxed, if they want to get away from the hustle and bustle, if they're going through something in their life and they want that human connection, either with themselves or with another person that might, have that relatability. It's such a beautiful, soulful circle of authenticity, of humanity. And it's just people literally just showing up, wanting to feel at peace with themselves and at peace with everything around them. And so that's the space that we've beautifully enough been able to create, and beautifully enough been able to expand upon. So that's where it's at presently. And I have obviously visions. You've mentioned visions before. I have visions for that as well. Oh,
tell us your visions about that.
I'd prefer to keep it as a surprise.
Okay. All right. When's the next? All right. Next podcast, I'll get more out of you. Don't worry. So I'm going to let it slide because I could be a little forceful when it comes to that. So, usually I just stop the podcast. That's it. It's not going out. Tell me, that type of a thing. But anyway, when's the next retreat that you're going to have?
So the first one is going to be June 15th.
Okay. And what is that going to consist of? Tell me, what does that look like?
So it actually is something that's at the completion of the day. So you can work, throughout the day. That's generally what people do is they'll work. If anything, they might leave a half an hour early, depending upon where they're commuting from. I've had people from New York City and even Long Island commute for this event. And it will be that you arrive to the Lavender Farm, and we will engage in a meditation. We will engage in a yoga session. We will also engage in then a social circle with refreshments and activity. And there's then the boutique that's on the premise. And that's the particular model for the first 2 sessions. Once we head into our 3rd session and then the 4th session, we will be introducing different ways of, I have a workbook coming out the end of the fall. So we'll be incorporating my workbook
awesome.
And doing a speakeasy around it, and a journaling session around it. I have, we're looking at getting the singing bowls and someone to do the singing bowls within a session. And just a really beautiful space of somebody that wants to, again, they want to come back to home within themselves. They want to come into a space of serenity, especially from everything that the world has gone through and continues to, because let's just face it, I mean, the pandemic paused us and halted us in our lives for a moment, but everything else was still going on. Sure. So we needed to shift our perspectives of how we adopt the world and how we put ourselves in place in this world. And that's what this does. This allows you to find that place of pause. And especially living in the geographic location that we live in, Dan, it's very difficult to introduce pausing, but yet it's absolutely crucial for that overall optimized health.
Yes, because health is not only physical, it's mental, it's physical, it's emotional. There's many different components to health. And, I grew up in a generation where we go. And, until we burn out, and burnout is not fun. because I've been burnt out before. And
Me too.
It's not fun. That's when I had the heart attack, is, you're burnt out, the mental burnout. I mean, I'm resilient, but there's definitely times where that mental burnout comes in, and it's difficult, for me to turn it off. Do you find that for yourself at times? Difficult to turn it off, your mind, you're constantly thinking, whatever that looks like?
Well, I would be lying if I said that I don't. I actually believe that we all have some level of that monkey mind, and that, vine to vine thinking, or that swirling thinking. I mean, we have, 42 thoughts per minute, just to throw that out there. And generally, the thoughts that we do have, we have the same 9, and they just repeat themselves over the course of the day.
Right.
Whether or not we've been able to rectify it, that's something different. So we definitely, I mean, yes, of course I do vine to vine think, but that's also why I introduce meditation into my world. And I do meditation and yoga, and I do other holistic, methods of healing.
Right. Sure. Well, I don't have 42 thoughts per minute. I have 42,000 thoughts per minute. Sometimes that's a half a minute. I'm not too sure. But anyway, so let's talk about our event, because we have about 5-10 minutes left. See how fast it goes once you start talking?
Very fast.
Right? So,
yeah.
I'm bucking for a TV show. I think I should be the next Johnny Carson or something like that. I don't know.
There you go.
See, right?
You got to envision that.
Get that going.
Manifest it.
Yes. So May 7th, we're going to have a very exciting event. Tell us about the event. I'm going to let you go first. Go ahead. Tell me. May 7th, so from 3 to 5.
We're meeting at Carmen's. We're meeting at Carmen's yoga studio.
Right down the block from you, right? On Quimby Street.
Right on Quimby Street. So Carmen has Brassy Buddha, and she's going to lead an amazing yoga session for us. And we're going to also then introduce the elements of what we do at the Fleet Feet and the running community, and the lifestyle and the healthy measures of running. Going to also introduce your business model, and talking about the same thing, the healthy weys of living, and take it from there, Dan. I mean, that's pretty much where we're
I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be exciting. We're going to go over mental, physical, emotional. When it comes to this, we're going to do some yoga. We're going to do some mindset. We're going to talk about running. We're going to talk about nutrition. I'm the owner of Nutrition of Westfield. And what do you need to do to physically fuel your body, not only for running, but during the day, because everybody's an athlete. Everybody's an athlete, no matter what they do during the course of the day. You can be a construction worker. You could be sitting behind a desk. You still have to burn, right? You still have to perform and so forth. So we're going to be talking about on how to do this efficiently, healthily, and we're going to open this up to the community.
Absolutely. I mean, because at the same time too, I mean, throughout the community and throughout the whole time, we've seen people, and even now, I mean, we have people still coming in that they are not runners, that we've actually seen a lot more walkers entering in the doors of Fleet Feet. And it's a beautiful thing, because what we are also doing in this particular collaboration is reminding people that you can start somewhere. And if they're just starting with us, and you don't have to be able to be bendy flexy to do Carmen's class. You don't have to run the marathon to work with us and have us fit you and have us do, get you going in your running world. You don't have to be, eating extremely well already to then work with you either. Like, there's different ways that we can all just start somewhere. And I think that's the part of what I think we're trying to really encourage the community to do, is that they've been stagnant and they've been sitting in their homes for so long that they have to start somewhere.
Bingo. You got to start somewhere. I love that. You need to start somewhere. You need to get that, you need to get it up and get it moving, because I think what happens, and I'm just going to talk in general, you go through a difficult time in life, whatever that is, your body begins to break down. You need to be able to be mentally and physically, emotionally resilient. I think I like the word resilient instead of strong in this particular case. And you need to be resilient, and you need to be able to help yourself. Because if you can't help yourself, how are you going to help your family? How are you going to help your friends? How are you going to help your community? How are you going to help yourself? Because, you know, because when that plane is going down, what do they say? When that comes down, the oxygen tank comes down, you got to do it first. You have to help yourself first. If you're an adult, you need to help yourself first. You're not going over to maybe your children. It sounds horrible. And when I first heard this, I struggled with it. But then I said, no, because you need to be able to be resilient enough. Now you can go to your children. Now you can go to the seniors in the community in your life, and now you can help them out, right? You can help them out, because if you're strong, you lift people up. If you're resilient, you lift those people up with you, right? And we want to do that absolutely. And we want to do that in our community, and maybe other communities will take notice, and maybe other communities will be motivated, educated, and inspired to do the same. And you know, we'll start off with our community, and then we'll go from there. Terry, you never know where it's going to go. Now I got more ideas that are rolling around in my head. Oh boy, I have 52,000 thoughts per minute instead of
42. Oh my! And thank you for correcting me on that one. Yeah, it's 42,000.
Wow, 42,000. I got 1,042,000 that are going through my mind right now. It's the ADHD. I control it. It's creative. I don't want it to stop. Forget about the medication. I don't want any of that stuff. I like it. I'm very creative. And it's kicking in right now. So we're almost done. See, wow, it really goes quick, doesn't it?
It does go quick. It goes very quick.
We're about 45 minutes right now. So listen, if you were to recommend 3 things to the audience today to get themselves up on a better lifestyle, positive lifestyle, because you and I are in the business of making positive lifestyle changes.
And I'm sorry, Dan, just repeat that, because you cut out in sound. So I didn't hear the first part. If I were to what?
If you were to give our listening audience 3 tidbits. Okay. Right? 3 tidbits to get themselves into a healthier, more positive lifestyle, what would they be?
3 tidbits to get themselves into a healthier, more positive way.
Positive lifestyle changes. What would they be for you? What does that look like for Terri?
For me personally, or for me guiding?
If I were sitting in front of you right now, you didn't meet me, and you were to give me some advice on how to get a positive, healthier lifestyle, what would you say to me? Ooh, I threw you a curveball at the last question now, didn't I?
You really did. Well, you want to know something? One of the things that has always resonated for me, and it's very true for all of us, is the word fly. And it means first love yourself. Oh. So in order to have a, healthier lifestyle, and it's relative to even what you're just saying on the plane, but in order to have that healthier lifestyle, you have to first love yourself. You have to first deem yourself worthy enough of having that life, of having that. And then once you do, you can start tiptoeing with curiosity. So first love yourself. In order to fly, first love yourself. Then you tiptoe into that space of curiosity, because that's your heart song that's telling you to go there. And then once you do those 2 things, then you share it. Because what is the point of living a life alone if you don't share it with other people? And if you don't inspire other people to do the same?
You hit that out of the park.
It's what I believe. It's what I do. It's how I live my life.
You hit that out of the park, Terri. This is a great place to end.
Well, then that's my first Grand Slam there, Dan, because I'm not a baseball player.
Let me tell you something. It was bottom in the 9th. It was 3-2.
And I just came back and I won the game.
I threw a high fastball, shoulder high, and it was 105 miles per hour. You just looked at it and you said, I see the seams. I see the cowhide. I see everything. It's going out. I got my head down.
I envisioned it. I pointed out.
Yeah, I got my head down. I'm going to the dugout right now. I'm licking my wounds on that one. Wow, that was beautiful. First, love yourself, tiptoe into curiosity, and share it with others. I think that's beautiful. Terri, how can they find you in Westfield at Fleet Feet?
They can either call us at the store, 908-654-9900. They can walk in through the doors. That's the best way ever. Just come on in and
just say hello.
Yeah, just come in, say hello. Even if you don't just want to kind of check us out, come say hello. 123 Quimby Street.
And you know what? I went in to check it out too. It is a wonderful store. It has a great array of running shoes. It has running gear. It has all sorts of things. It is a great store, and Terri does an amazing job there. How can we find you for the Lavendula wellness retreats? Where can we go to find those?
So you can email me, or you can direct text me questions regarding the event. So it's lunarlavenderyoga@gmail.com, or you can direct text questions at 732-789-0623.
I'll make sure that's all in our show notes so that people, when they have questions, May 7th, 3 to 5, Brassy Buddha on Quimby Street. We're going to have some flyers out. We're going to do something beforehand. It's going to be Terri, Carmen, and I. We're going to do a little live, and we're going to get people in, and we're going to help you out. That's what we want to do. So, Terri,
it was awesome, Dan. Great chatting with you as always.
Thank you very much for being here. For everybody listening, live your best life. May 7th, 3 to 5 on Quimby Street, Brassy Buddha. Come on down. We're going to talk a little bit about running. We're going to talk a little bit about yoga. We're going to talk a little bit about nutrition. We're going to get you on a positive lifestyle change so that you can be more resilient mentally, physically, emotionally. Thank you very much, Terri.
Thank you, Dan.
Everybody, live your best life, and we'll see you the next time around. Take care.